Hello soulmates, it's so good to have you all back to my channel. My name is Ajulam. Welcome back to another interesting tutorial. So today I will be showing us how to make this trendy floating or a standing cape pleated dress for a girl. So if you're interested, let's get started. Now to make this beautiful dress, you'll be needing half yard of the tulle net, and you also need a 3 yards of your fabric, though it depends on the age that you want to make this dress for. Okay, so the 3 yards can be more or even small, so it depends on the age that you're working with. So I have 3 yards, and I also have my 2 yards of my interlining. All right, so I'll be making this dress for a 10-year-old. I also have my zipper here, so I'm going to keep this aside so that we draft out the upper or the bodice part, which is the most important part of this tutorial. All right, so here you can see I have my basic bodice pattern already drafted out. So if you don't know how to draft a basic bodice pattern, you can check out the description box. I'm going to drop the link to the video there, so you can check that out. So I have this drafted already, so we're going to start with this front side. So this is the front panel, and these are the following measurements that you need to have before starting up this project. So you will need the round the shoulder measurement, aside from what you've done already on this front panel. So you will need the round the shoulder measurement or the bicep measurement. Okay, so these two things you need to know them before starting this work. So the first thing to do is to determine the yoke part of this dress, and it is very easy. So all I'm going to do is to mark 1 inch upward from this chest line. So I'll be using this black pen so that you will see the difference. So I'll mark 1 inch upward this way. Okay, so this part depends on how open you want the yoke to be. If you don't want it to be more revealing, you can make it half or even 0.75, but 1 inch is very okay. So I'll just connect it straight this way. So this is what I have. This part is going to be the yoke. Now you can see that it's very easy to determine the yoke from your basic bodice pattern. So all I'm going to do while cutting this out, you will need to add your ½ inch for sewing allowance on this part. So you're going to be doing that for both the side, that is the upper side and this other side. So this is the yoke. Now the next thing to do, like I said earlier, is to determine the round the shoulder measurement. But for instance, maybe you forgot to measure that. It is very easy for you to know how to go about that. So the first thing to do is to check your bicep measurement. Okay, like I said earlier, I said you must know the round the shoulder measurement and the bicep measurement. Okay, so if you have your bicep measurement, you can easily determine or get the round the shoulder measurement. So for this now, the bicep measurement is 10.5. that is for this age. It is 10.5. that is the bicep measurement. So you need to minus 2 to 3 inches from this to get the round the shoulder measurement. All right, so if I minus 2 inches, for example, from this, it's going to give me it's going to give me 7.5. that is what this is going to give me, 7.5. so this 7.5 now is the measurement that you will need from this front armhole to the back armhole. I hope you understand. So from this front armhole now to the back side armhole, 7.5 is what I am going to use. All right, for the cape side, only for this shoulder. So now that you know what you need, this is 7.5. so you're going to check what you have now from wherever you mark your line. Okay, from wherever you mark the yoke line, just check what you have there. So here I have 6.75. so you're going to multiply this by 4. you know, this is going to be for both the front and the back. You know, my paper is just one, it's not folded, so you need to multiply whatever you have here by 4, and then you add the 7.5. Remember that the 7.5 now you multiply by 2, because it will go for both the sleeve side. It's not only one side. If you have 7.5 for one side, you will need another 7.52 for the other side, making it 15 inches. All right, so if you multiply what you have here by 4, just add what your the 15 inches, like I said, just work with your own measurement. Then if you add that, that is now the round the shoulder measurement. Now the round the shoulder measurement, there are two ways of going about that. You know, there's one, you measure very close to the shoulder tip, while this part you can see where it is almost close to the chest line, so that is where you place the tape. Okay, wherever you want your yoke to start, that is where you place your tape to get the round the shoulder measurement. So I hope this part is clear. All right, so now if I multiply what I have here, it's going to give me 27, and then if I add the 15 inches, like I said, it's going to give me 42. So the round the shoulder measurement for mine, it is 42. And remember, I said it is not close to the shoulder tip, it is below, close to the chest line, so it should be bigger than the one that is close to the shoulder tip. This is my own way of going about this, and it's been okay for me. So now this 42 that I have here is a very free one, because I want this part to be free. If you don't want it to be free, after using this method, then minus 2 from it. For example, this is 42. If I remove 2, I'll have 40. So if you use 40, it is going to be very fitted around the shoulder. But me, I want it very free. You know, it's for a child, so that the child can easily move the shoulder around. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to mark out the chest line. This is the upper chest line, so I'm going to mark out the chest line. So that is just by marking 1 inch from this upper chest line, and you connect it straight. So if you want to add that, this is where you will need to do that. But for this, I will not be adding any that, because the cape is going to cover it, so there's no need to add that. But if you want, you can also go ahead and add that to yours. So now I have the chest line. Like I said, this is the upper chest line and this is the chest line. So if you want to add that, remember that we normally come down by 1 inch, okay, before attaching the dart. So this is the 1 inch. Now you can see that I did not mark it straight to this point because it's not really needed. Okay, so this is the 1 inch. The next thing to do is to determine how bold you want the front and the back band to be. You know, this dress is going to have a band. So for the front, as you can see from the thumbnail, is a bit bigger than the back. So I'll be making the back, I'll use 3 inches for the back side. Okay, so since I'll be using 3 inches for the back, I'll mark the 3 inches from this side. Okay, now this is my waist sewing allowance. I will not be placing my tape there, so I'll just mark the 3 inches here, and I'll also mark it on this back side as well. So this is 3 inches, so that by the time you join the two, it will match up nicely. So this is the point. All right, so now I will just take my ruler. Here you can now give it the curve or how you want that part to be. So I'll just, you know, curve it a bit. Now this is the front band. This is how my front band will look like. So let me just write it out. This is the front band. All right, moving on to the back side now. I am going to mark the band as well for the back side. Now you can see that I've already marked that, the 3 inches on this side, so that by the time we join the front together, this part is going to match nicely. So on this other side, I will not be making it 2 inches. I will make it I will not be making it 3 inches. I'll be making it 2.5 because I want it a bit lower on this side. So I'm going to mark 2.5 inches, and make sure that you're not marking on this on the waist sewing allowance. Okay, so I'll just place it up this way and mark 2.5, and then I'll connect. Okay, so I'll just connect it. I think I'll make it 2 inches. I want it a bit lower than this, so let me just make it 2 inches. Okay, so I will now connect. So this is how the back band is going to look like. So this is the back band. Now moving over to the back yoke, it is very easy. For the back side, I'm going to connect it straight to this shoulder, to this chest line, and I'll repeat the same on this front. I want the two to tally together. So all I'm going to do now is to mark from this midpoint. Remember this side, the armhole midpoint. I'm going to connect it now straight to this chest line. Okay, and this will form the back yoke. All right, so this is the back yoke. And for this front, remember I said I want the two to tally, so I will just take it from that midpoint to this point. All right, so this is the yoke now. This is no longer needed. All right, so I want the front yoke and the back yoke to just tally nicely. So this is how you go about drafting out the yoke, the band. So all that is left for us to draft now is the cape itself. Now remember that I have 42 inches after calculating what I have. So I'll be adding extra say 6 inches to that, because I'll be pleating the front part a little. So let me just add 8 inches to that to make it 50 inches, because I'll be adding a little pleat on the front side. Only on the front side I'll be adding a little pleat. So I'll be cutting out 50 inches long. Okay, and then you now decide the length, you now decide the height of your cape. So this 50 inches is going to be like the width of the cape. So this is how we are going to do this. So I'm going to cut all this out. Remember I said when you want to cut on your fabric, make sure to add on this other side, anywhere that you cut off like this, make sure that you include your ½ inch on both sides for your sewing allowance, because we're going to join it together again. So you need that sewing allowance. If not, the bodice length is going to be smaller. All right, so let me quickly cut this off before placing on my fabric. All right, here I have it all cut out. As you can see, I placed my fabric is on fold, and then I place my pattern on it and then cut. Remember that my pattern is just one piece like this. All right, so before we continue, I would like to inform us that our intensive online classes is coming up next week. So if you're interested in any of our online classes, kindly reach out to this number showing now on WhatsApp for more details on how to go about that. You can also check the description. I'll also drop my WhatsApp number there. So we're going to start by sewing the yoke part. Now remember that you're going to be cutting out your interlining same way you cut out the fabric, not the pattern. So we're going to take this one after the other. So we'll start with the front and the back yoke. So for the front and the back yoke, you can see that I cut out two pieces each of this. One is going to be for the interlining. So this is the back. I'm going to open it up here. This is my zipper allowance. So I'll just open it up this way. So we'll start by joining the shoulders and the shoulder and the neckline together. So this part, if you're a returning subscriber, you should know how to do this part by now. So I'll simply open up, I'll just take one, open it up this way, and then take the back side, place the shoulders together and join it. And I'll also repeat the same on this other one that is going to be the interlining. So here we are after joining the neckline and the armhole together, and this is what I have. Now the next thing is to join the next one following this. Remember how we cut out the pattern? So this is the next one that will come in here before the band. So I'm going to take it now and I'll be joining it this way, as you can see. So I'll just place it over. This is the right side, this is the right side. So I'll just turn it over now this way and sew it according to the shape or the structure of this side. Then after sewing it as it is, I'll place my interlining this other way now under like this and stitch it together, so that by the time you turn it, it will be very okay. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll repeat the same for this one that is for the back. Okay, this is the back front band. Now this is the next one for the back. I'm going to arrange it well, stitch it the same way, join it according to the shape, then we attach the band. But before we attach the band, I will need to cut out the cape, which is very important. So I will use this for this upper part. I use 1 yard first for all the bodies, the cape and all of that. So this is what I have. So I'm going to fold this into 2. So for this fabric, it is by the height of it is by 60 inches. Okay, and remember that I said I'll be using for the cape, for the width of my cape is going to be 50 inches. I guess I'm correct. So what I have here is enough for that. Okay, now you can also use the bias method, like placing your fabric in a bias form before cutting out your cape. But I don't want to waste my fabric, so I will just cut it out straight. So as it is, I will just mark it out straight, and I'm going to use the width. The height of my cape now is going to be 4 inches, but I'll make it 5 inches because of my sewing half-inch sewing allowance on both sides. So I'll just make it 5 inches. So I'll just cut out 25 inches because this is on fold. If you open it up, it's going to be 50 inches. So I'll just cut out 25 inches by 5 inches. So I will just quickly mark that out and then we continue. So here it is after cutting it out. So I have my 50 inches by 5 inches. So I'm going to open it up at this center now. I'll just cut it open because we are going to pleat the front side, and you can see from the thumbnail that the front side of the band of the cape is not joined, so it's separate, so we can easily pleat and then attach it. So this is what I have. I am going to cut out the interlining now, but for the interlining I'll be cutting out 2 pieces of that, because my fabric is transparent and I don't want my seam to be visible. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces of that. So I'll just use one to line it inside, and then the other one I'm going to use to turn it inside out, and I'll repeat the same on this other one. So for this other, I'm going to finish joining the interlining, giving it a good press so we can plait like 2 or 3 places on the front side before we join it to the bodice. So now this is the bodice here after joining everything together. Remember how I explained for you to join this part so that you have a very clean finishing. And here you can see that my interlining is doubled so that my seam will not be visible. So after sewing it, this is it. Then you place the other one this other way, and then sew and turn it over. So that is what I just did, and I top stitch a bit to hold it very well on this area, and I repeated the same on the back side. So you can see that this part is ready. All that is left is for me to add my cape before putting the band. All right, so after sewing the cape, this is what I'm going to do. On this side, I'm going to mark out, remember the size seam allowance that I'm working with, that is what I'll use. So you will use the particular one you prefer using, that is for seam allowance. So for this particular one, I used 1 inch because I want this to have to be free. So I'm going to notch that 1 inch on this waist side and also on this armhole, okay, so that by the time I attach the cape, it will not get to that point. Okay, so your cape is not supposed to reach to this side space here. Okay, so you just end on the sewing or seam allowance. All right, so I'm going to sew the cape, so I will show you what I just explained. All right, after sewing the cape, this is what I have, and you can see that I've added the little pleats on this center front. Okay, I just added 2 pleats on this center front, and I repeated the same on this side. Now this is how you sew your cape. You're going to close the part that is going to be at the center front, and then sew this side that is going to be towards the shoulder side. Okay, just stitch it down, and then this other side now and this zipper side, I'm going to leave it open. Okay, so that it will be very easy to attach it to the dress. If you close it all up, it's going to be a problem. So now this is what I have. I'm going to give it a good press so that the pleat will flatten up nicely. Okay, so after that, I'm going to pin it now. Okay, so I'll just take it as it is and pin it from this center. This is the center point, and make sure to notch yours so that you get to know the center point. So I'll just pin it now, following using the 1/2 inch that I left for my seam allowance. So I'll just pin. I'm going to pin it together, and then getting to this side, remember that I am using 1 inch for the side sewing allowance. So I will not get to that 1 inch like I explained earlier. You should stop like before the 1 inch sewing allowance. So I'll just pin this. When I get to that point, I will explain better. All right, here I just pinned that like I explained earlier up to the side seam. So now getting to this side seam, you can notice that instead of placing my cape straight, I moved it up a bit. Okay, so this is my 1 inch for the side sewing allowance. So instead of placing my cape this way, following this line, I raise it up a bit, like 1/2 inch on that point, and then I'm going to pin it. So this is important so that by the time you want to attach the band, okay, it's not going to be a struggle. It's going to be very free. Okay, this is the band. By the time we attach it now, you can see that this is going to be on its own. Now another thing to do is that on this point now, this is the 1 inch, fold this inside. Okay, so I'm going to fold it in. Okay, and then the lining, I'll also fold it in and bring them together like this. Okay, so that it will be as if we just closed it nicely, because this other side we are going to close it as well, and then we are going to stitch on it. We cannot sew and turn it inside out, so we're going to fold it this way and then stitch it together so that it will be very clean. So this is what I'm going to do now, and I'll repeat the same on this other side. But before I start working on the cape, I'll close the sides together. So use your seam side sewing allowance now, close it together, and also close the band. Okay, I'm going to take the band with the back side and arrange it well, and then also close it together on the side before we finish up with the cape. So this is it. I just pin it like I explained earlier. From this center point, you just have to pin it. Now on this side, you can see that I have an opening here. All right, so when you sew, make sure that you have up to 5 inches opening on this part so that the baby can move the hand around easily. Okay, we're not going to stitch it all close. So now I am going to stitch it and end it here. Okay, so all I did here was just to leave the back, from the back side opening to this side, from this back side opening to this side is 3 inches, while the front one is going to be 2 inches. That is the opening that I'm going to leave to free up the bicep. Okay, so now I'm going to take this part. Remember I said that you need to join the sides together, and this is it. Okay, so here I just join the sides together. Okay, so I'm going to take that part that should be facing up. Now this is the shape, so I'll just turn it over this way, and then we're going to stitch it from here. Okay, then I'm going to sew, and getting to this point, remember that I said that you should come up a bit before you pin your cape, so that it's on this part that is the bicep, your cape should be separate. It should not be joined together with this part, so it should be separate. When you get to that point, you just continue now with the line and sew all the way down. Okay, make sure that you have your 5 inches opening here for the bicep to move around. So I'll just quickly add this other side of the cape, and then I'll join this to it so you can see how it looks. All right, after joining it, this is what I have. I just joined the other side as well. Now you can see that I have enough space here for the bicep, or for the child to move the hand easily. And then after this, now I'll just use my needle to tack it nicely. Here you can just place it towards this armhole side and just tack it there so that it will not be moving around. And you're going to repeat the same on this front side, just tack it. Now you can see that on this side I have a very straight cape. Now this is why I said that you can also use the bias method to cut out the cape. Now I use the straight method, that is why it is straight. So if you use the bias method, it's going to give you that kind of a little circle shape on this side. So this is what I have. Now remember how I said that you should fold in these parts and then sew on it neatly, and also make sure that the side matches with the band, with the upper side matches with the band very well. So this is what I have. I'm going to use my pin, like I said now, or sorry, my needle, to tack it nicely on this side, and I'll repeat the same on the back side, and I'll also do the same on this other side. Then I will give it a very good press. So on this side as well, you can also use your needle, just to tack it, and just arrange it the way you want it to be. Just play with it. There's nothing much to this part. And then I'll do the same on this side. So this is the back. This is how it is at the back side. So all I'm going to do now is to take this is my interlining, and then place it on this way, and then stitch it. By the time I turn over, I'll have a very clean finishing inside. All right, so this is how to go about making this beautiful dress. Just give it a try and you'll be glad you did. So see you in my next video.